Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Malifaux and join us for a daring raid on a guild carriage with some very precious cargo. This was an incredibly fun game and really complex. I'm still going to try to keep this video shorter than normal. I'm going to try and do it justice, but if nothing else, know that this was quite a thinking game. So for terrain, we've got probably severe terrain, forests, impassable houses, and this is some kind of hazardous forest that counts as hardcover, because why not? My opponent deployed first, and we've got Sneaky Nino up ahead, Francisco with Wade in, and one of the new guild upgrades, Numb to the World, which makes him even more broken, because now he can ignore conditions. I freaking hate this model. Next to him we've got Nelly, with Embedded, Delegation and Misleading Headlines. Mrs. Queeg, a Mr. Queeg proxy with Promises. Johan, with a Debt to the Guild. Fiona Gage, with Transparency. And the Printing Press. Over on my side I've got the schemiest crew that ever did scheme. Marionette, Aeonus, whatever it's called, with Mimic's Blessing, which I forgot about all game. Shadow Effigy, Lucky Effigy, Brutal Effigy, Kalodi. Yes, our favourite puppet man is back with Strum the Threads and Fated. Doppelganger with Retribution's Eye, and then over to the far right, Goose-Step the Marionette. The plan is to get everyone up where the carriage is going to be and drop about 1 billion ski markers on the first turn. Save a high card to make sure I can cheat the initiative with the Doppelganger for the turn 2. Spring the Gentleman and chain push him all the way into my backfield to come play with the effigies whilst I stonewall the guild and coat them in markers. Turn 1, that is after a Soulstone, because damn my hand sucked. And I know Mr. Hiddlefon likes to start punching me hard from the get-go. And that's the guild hand, turn 1. Both crews head up to waylay the carriage. Nellie's pushing and giving her models fast, and I'm giving my models fast with Aeonus and Kalodi's aura. The Shadow Effigy is given this one, remember the mission as well. I think everyone's had the lucky healing bubble go off on them. This terrain was a real pain because it's really traffic jammed me up. And at the end of the turn, things like this. I know I was supposed to keep my 11 so the Doppelganger could cheat the initiative next turn, but my cards were balls! And I had to use it to get a Remember the Mission on this Marionette. Brutal shot Claudie upfield. He's personal puppeted this Marionette, always the one in the dress, and has then tried hitting Francisco. I think he did the red Joker for damage, which is a good start, but I can't put any conditions on the motherfucker. Aeonus walked up and dropped a scheme marker and then used his zero action to move it up to be within 3 inches of both Johan and Francisco. Fiona Gage is heading off to try to take out my lonesome puppet, and I'll trade 3 Soulstones for her attention at any time. Super annoyingly, my opponent kept delaying his activations using Nellie's bogus powers, meaning that he got to leave Nino to last, and so he walked up over here to be a royal pain in the butthole. Turn 2, this is the turn that makes the game. Give me some good... Oh, you fucking joking me. Well, that's a Soulstone. Ugh. Sometimes you can just tell a game is going to be rough. There's my opponent's hand, by the way. Yeah, fuck you too, Fate. But it's fine. I win the initiative without even having to cheat. Problem is, there's no way I can interact with the carriage with Nino standing right there. It wouldn't really be that much of a problem, except that he's got El Mayor on him from the previous turn, and my hand is worth dick. I could have activated Kalodi, I could probably kill him if I land 2 hits, and then an accomplice and Marionette in. Thinking about it now, that probably would have been the better way to go, but my opponent would have shut me down with his hand anyway. So instead I decide to charge in Aeonus. All I have to do is hit him once and I can bury him. And if worse comes to it, I might be able to sneak the Marionette in and claim, spring the man out of the carriage, because his base can block Nino's line of sight. So that's what I do, and of course Nellie's having none of it. She does a bunch of shit I can't remember, but essentially she moves, pushes Aeonus off the marker to go chill with Francisco, and then springs the gentleman out of the carriage. Bugger. Aeonus takes a royal beating from Johan and Francisco. I use my Soulstones to try to keep him around, but double flurries and red jokers will do that to you. In desperation, I try to get a puppet round the side. He goes defensive, but that was really stupid because my opponent was easily able to get around and push the man to Queeg, who then pushed the man back all the way over here. Collodi and the marionettes valiantly try to keep up, but they can't. The rest of the crew moves up, and I drop as many ski markers as I can. I try some more hits on Francisco, but his removes condition stuff was just fucking annoying. And so now I've got this marionette sat here just to tie them up, stop them from charging Collodi or my other marionettes, or at least just waste their action points. Turn 3, character cards! But it looks like the guild's keeping pace. I should mention that the guild scored a point for show of force in the last turn, on top of the 3 points he got for springing the man. So with my detonate charges and convict labour, we're on 4 all at the moment. I think I got the initiative this turn, and I activated the lucky effigy, put Collodi, the bubble of healing goodness up on Collodi and the crew. I forget about it the entire game, but never mind, it's the thought that counts, and then run him off over here to ensure I can keep scoring conflict labour, and perhaps then eventually get around over here if Fiona decides to ignore us. Not perhaps the most effective first activation. As things continue, the Shadow Effigy gets remembered mission on the Doppelganger. Collodi and the Brutal move off over here. I'm positioning Brutal so that if he dies he can drop a ski marker in a useful place. And Collodi is going to try to slip behind their lines with all his running away home. Could have gone a bit further, but I'm trying to keep line of sight to my puppets for personal puppet. And I think I do manage to hit Johan a bit and get him to hit Francisco, who keeps soulstoning and healing himself. Francisco wades in and moves Mr. Johan over here, who then beats on Collodi. Collodi valiantly takes a couple of hits from a relic hammer, pushing out over here, and I had to kill my personal puppet to survive and manage to retract onto the Shadow Effigy. Probably the first time I've ever remembered to do that. Did, however, forget to take an attack on Francisco with Marionette when I first took damage. Need to remember to do that. Mistress Queeg has proved how very annoying she is by pushing my Marionette out of scoring range and to go hang with Johan. And we end it like this with this Marionette putting down some more ski markers and getting, just getting into range to try to get to the man in later turns. Fiona gets in on the Collodi beating, but can't kill him because I, again, sacrifice my personal puppet. Turn 4, that's a hand I can't complain with. Would have been nice earlier in the game, and that is quite literally Mr. Hiddlefon's hand. So Collodi's on 3 wounds and in the middle of a load of guild henchmen. I cheat the initiative with a 12. The Brutal Effigy gets stuck in, standing again in a place where I hope he'll die and give me a ski marker. Gives Collodi Fear Not the Sword and accomplices to Collodi, who goes fast, going down to 1 damage, and he vents his fucking pent-up frustration on Francisco. The puppeteer's strings loop around his arms and literally force him to fist himself to death with his own sword. I hope it's a cheap funeral, you son of a bitch. But Collodi's not done, oh no. And Collodi makes him do terrible things with that rifle, before finally pulling the trigger. I'm not gonna lie, that felt good. And Collodi's now back up on 5 wounds. My slippery little Marionette gets away from Johan and ends up over here by the man. Johan then charges Collodi, who gets away, killing the personal puppet to do it. Doppelganger got moved around by Nelly, and so ended up here, engaged with Fiona. She copied Johan's hammer and brought the hurt, taking Fiona to her heart to wound. Fiona retaliated, doing like 7 damage to the Doppelganger, and dropping a load of ski markers. Being able to incite things and skip activations really helps this crew, and actually, to be honest, he's killing enough of my stuff that he doesn't really need to use it too much. But it does help get around things like manipulative. And this is how things end up. I brought the Lucky Effigy back to the centre, because I've got to try to stop him from scoring Search the Ruins somehow if I can. Mrs. freaking Queeg has killed my valiant Marionette, but the other one who's been scoring me all the points over here has run over here and pushed itself into the terrain. At the end of the turn, the Doppelganger dies of burning, which was a shame. That was a shame. Turn 5, yeah, this game hasn't gone my way, but the puppets will never give up if they can spend at least 1 AP annoying Mr. Hiddlefon. This, by the way, is the red joker, and so that's a good hand. That is a good hand. And that's my opponent's hand. Your hand goes, makes the schoolboy error of charging Collodi, who with no personal puppet takes his damage like a man, pushing out of the way and staying alive on 1 wound. And yes, I ran out of soul stones long ago. The lucky effigy then goes and removes the scheme marker and accomplices into Collodi, who kills Fiona and moves and then removes both scheme markers with 1 AP. Try searching those ruins now, guild assholes. My marionette survives the printing press attacking it and skips around here to go stand next to the man again. That dragging along ability is so good. And for a moment it seemed like the guild wouldn't get their full points. Nelly attacked the marionette but was unable to shift it. It was clinging on to the man for dear life, despite being on just 1 wound. She then decided to eat a scheme marker and push over here, using her last attack to make my traitorous lucky effigy drop one of her scheme markers. Mr. Queeg then attacked my marionette, cheating to fail, which allowed Nelly to push him over here where he dropped a scheme marker, and at the end of the turn she used her evidence to drop another one. And that, dear friends, was the game. Really, really good fun. The guild got 3 points for show of force, 3 points for search the ruins, and the full whack, 6 points for rescuing the self-righteous man. The puppets got 3 points for convict labour, 3 points for detonate the charges, and 1 point for being near the man at some point. Hats off to that tenacious marionette. I do love it when they survive improbable odds. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my crew. It is a mean marker dropping machine. I think I had a great chance of doing very well at this mission, but my opponent had also built a crew that was well up to the task, and in the end I think a few sloppy plays at least at the start of the game and some bad cards just killed me. But this guy is one of the toughest opponents I face, and I'm pretty happy with how things went, all things considered. And I just love playing my puppets. Collodi is just too much fun. Anyway, many thanks to Senor Hiddelfon, and I leave you with news that the self-righteous man escaped the battlefield under the protection of a guild guard who may or may not have been a puppet in disguise. Until next time, take care.